Hi, Mystery resurfaced here today. I am going to explain the American science fiction comedy film called Idiocracy. How's the story goes on, watch ahead. The explanation of the film is set in the year 2005, close to the beginning of the film. It is portrayed that human advancement is at a crucial moment. Most sci-fi speculations foresee that the fate of people will be further developed with more clever humans. But since people are now on head of the well-established position, their development gets downright ugly. People become more stupid with time. In such circumstances, the U.S. Armed Force librarian Corporal Joe Bowers is drawn nearer by his seniors, proposing he be a piece of a significant test. Joe, who had plans to remain a librarian until retirement, is irritated. However, he needs to follow orders. Then, at that point, we are taken to a private gathering between a few high-positioning military authorities. General Collins presents his plan to different officials. He says that the researchers have designed a human hibernation unit that can safeguard human beings for an endless measure of time. It is so people can save their best men at their prime and resurrect them in the period of scarcity. They have picked Joe to be the principal test since he is the most normal man in the military and has no close family. Additionally, they likewise required a woman for the test, yet they didn't find a perfect fit in the military. Therefore, Collins picks a whore named Rita. He shows the officials pictures of him and Rita's manager Upgrade celebrating together, yet it makes everybody in the room feel awkward. He closes the show by saying that the subjects will be placed into the pods tomorrow, and the trial will happen for a year. Since the analysis is highly classified, the authorities present in the room aren't permitted to disclose the data to anybody. The following day, Joe and Rita are together in a lounge area. Joe introduces himself and asks Rita what area she is from, not having any desire to uncover that she is a whore. Rita says that she is a painter. Then the two of them are placed on IV. Also, into two human hibernation pods. Rita goes nuts and has a go at getting up. However, Joe guarantees her the researchers realize what they're doing. He tells her they might be inside for a year, so it will be totally fine. Finally, the two are fixed inside the pods. However, things begin to turn out badly when official Collins is captured as a part and involved in prostitution ring. Alongside him, Upgrade is captured for being head of the prostitution ring. Thus now nobody is there to take care of the hibernation pods. In light of the embarrassment, the army installation is shut and the structure the pods are in is destroyed. Joe and Rita lied hibernating in the pods as the years cruised by. Despite the fact that things look awful for the two, they're far more terrible for humankind. People start to develop into more stupid creatures at an alarming rate. The graph of normal knowledge goes downhill with time. Certain people have high requirements that innate planning and science will really need to address this pattern of development. In any case, the most brilliant researchers on the planet are zeroing in on dumb trials like attempting to reverse hair loss or delayed erections. As such, they're taking care of God's responsibilities. Meanwhile, the population detonates and knowledge keeps on declining until the year 2505. For such an extremely long time, people can't take care of essential human issues like a waste disposal. So the trash has been stacked for quite a long time with no arrangement at all. This makes the extraordinary trash slide of 2505. And one day an enormous trash avalanche causes Joe's hibernation pods to crash up in an random house. Joe escapes from the pod. Bleary-eyed and befuddled, the person in the house is named Frito Pendejo. Frito totally ignores the heap of trash and the outsider in his home, and keeps watching strange shows on TV. The casing is covered with commercials, and the show comprises totally of a person getting kicked in the nuts. This is really more insightful than staying aware of the Kardashians. He just gets up to ask Joe not to make a noise. We see that his sofa additionally has a toilet, so he wouldn't need to get up time, and once more. He then kicks Joe out of the window. The outside world seems different to Joe, and he says to himself so much has changed in just a year, but little does he know, he has entered the year 2505. He sees a gathering by the roadside who talk in slang and snorts. Joe can get them, yet when he talks like his typical self, they call him slurs and pursue him away. A confused Joe additionally feels lightheaded, so he chooses to go to a close-by hospital there. He goes to the reception and tells the receptionist he is from the military. The lady sees nothing and simply squeezes one of the many buttons around her work area. A voice requested that Joe continue to the diagnostic area on the right. Confused, he goes to drink some water from a drinking fountain. Yet, it supplies a caffeinated drink called Brondo rather than water. When Joe asks a spectator where he can drink water, the man giggles at Joe for needing to drink something they use for toilets. Then he goes to the diagnostic area where he needs to place some plugs in his mouth, ear, and butt. The health expert jumbles the plugs that he previously put into those areas, and appalled Joe finishes the procedure and is sent off to a specialist while waiting. He sees the date 2505 printed on a magazine, yet excuses it as a misprint. The specialist shows up and addresses every one of Joe's inquiries concerning his health with phrases like kick ass. He also proclaims Joe is stupid and requested that he pay an expense of $5 billion all at once. Joe sees 2505 printed on the bill. He at long last understands that he has really been inside the pod for 500 years. Joe nearly doesn't trust it and goes to the window, just to be shocked to see the current condition of the city. In the meantime, the specialist goes crazy in light of the fact that Joe doesn't have a resident tattoo on his wrist. Joe frenzies and takes off from the hospital, while the specialist calls the police on him for not covering his bills. A voice portrays that Joe has woken up to a world in emergency. The economy is in profound disregard. An extraordinary dust ball has attacked all food supplies, and the main film in the nation is called Ass. He heads out to watch the film that won a lot of Oscars, including Best Screenplay, just to gaze at somebody's butt for 90 straight minutes. Around evening time, he is arrested for being unscannable and taken to a court there. He has given a legal counselor who is Fredo Pandajo, the person that Joe met first. Fredo ridicules him as everybody in the court laughs. Joe puts forth his viewpoint reasonably and makes sense of why he is unscannable, yet the legal counselors and judge all laugh at him. Finally, the appointed authority pronounces him liable and sentences him to imprison. In the meantime, Rita also comes out from the pod and is attempting to reach her manager and boyfriend Upgrade. She is ineffective as the telephone asks her for $2,000 to get in touch with him. All of a sudden, she is drawn nearer by a man who she tricks to get his cash simultaneously. Joe is taken to a computerized tattoo place where the residents are given the ID tattoo that makes them scannable. The machine asks his name, but Joe begins to make sense of that. He's not sure what is happening. As a result, the machine reads his name is not sure and tattoos it on his wrist. Then he has taken to an aptitude and IQ test, and posed inquiries about basic calculations. Joe answers every one of them accurately and is shocked to see people around him not being able to recognize shapes. From that point onward, he has taken to the jail. He at last starts to understand that everybody in this world is stupid, so he tells the guard he's supposed to be getting out of prison today. The stupid guard allows him to leave, however the system detects that a prisoner has took off, and the police chase him down the roads. Joe somehow gets away from them and goes to Fredo's place once more. He accepts that somebody has made a time machine in between this 500 years, and asks Fredo's help in getting to one. Fredo doesn't agrees to help Joe. But, Joe deceives him by saying that he will give him $8 billion for his well-being. In the end, Fredo uncovers that he knows where the time machine is on the grounds, that Fredo likes cash. All of a sudden, the police knocks on the entryway searching for Joe. The two take off through the window and drive to the historical center on their way. They meet Rita, who is yet tricking the same person. Rita gets in the car and is stressed that Upgrade will come searching for the cash she owes him, still unmindful that he is now dead as they drive something from outside the car. Scans Joe's wrist, and the police are alerted of Joe's location. The car's battery runs out and they get out of it, just after the police move toward the car and fire at it. Soon, a lot of people joined and begin battling each other in energy. Joe, Fredo and Rita take off in order to get to the time machine. Joe then takes the two to Costco, which is currently the center of all exchanges. He even cases to have studied law in Costco as they stand by for the metro. Rita goes to the washroom before she returns. Joe's wrist is inadvertently scanned once more, and the entire spot is alerted. The metro shows up and Fredo gets on it, yet Joe stays and waits for Rita, just to be caught by the police. Regardless, this time he has taken to the White House rather than jail. There a confused Joe meets the President Camacho and his secretaries. Camacho mocks him, saying that he believed Joe's head would be huge, because he's intelligent. Incidentally, the IQ test Joe took in jail surprised everybody since he had the topmost score they had at any point seen. Thus, due to his knowledge, the president makes Joe the new Secretary of Interior. To Joe's surprise, they additionally announce him the most intelligent man on the planet. Everybody then, at that point, goes to the place of representation, where the president reports that the issues of food shortage and the dust ball will be settled by their new Secretary of Interior, Mr. Not Sure. He also vows to forgive Joe's jail time in the event that he tackles the issue. Afterwards, a cabinet meeting is held, where the secretaries requested that Joe offer something brilliant. Joe says a few irregular muddled words, causing them to accept that he is as a matter of fact brilliant. Then at that point, Joe asks Frito to draw a map of the area where the time machine is, until he can divert the secretaries. Later, he takes them to a field where crops should be grown. He also requests that they get Rita on the grounds that she could possibly assist them with the crops. Frito secretly hands Joe the map. At the same time, Rita shows up there. Joe approaches her, intending to take off using the map. However, his intentions fails when he sees that Frito's map is only a couple squiggly lines. Then at that point, Joe understands that people have been watering the crops with the caffeinated drink Brawndo. He holds a cabinet meeting to begin utilizing water rather than Brawndo. The secretaries think his thought is monstrous, because Brawndo has electrolytes. So rather than prevailing upon them, he essentially lets them know that he can talk to the plants, and they need water. Joe doesn't realize that the caffeinated drink has made salt create up over the soil, which killed the plants and caused the dust ball. Hence, he is really taking care of their concern. For a couple of days, everything goes as expected, yet soon Brawndo's stock drops to zero in view of the diminished creation. This leaves a large portion of the population jobless. They revolt outside the White House, in a scene that frightfully anticipates the stupidity of the United States. The news reports that Joe is arrested for making people jobless and is proven to be guilty. He is condemned to 1 night in recovery. In the New World, restoration is the point at which a criminal is chased by a huge monster truck in a field, as a crowd of people supports the truck. The recovery for the most part finishes with the criminal's death. Joe is taken to the field, while Rita tragically gets back to the White House, all set to the time machine with Frito. The recovery is broadcasted on public TV. Joe is chased by a gigantic killing truck, as he cruises all over in a small car, with a dildo strapped to the hood. All at once, Rita sees a rose plant growing outside. She understands that Joe's plan to water the plants has worked. So she asks Frito to take her to the fields. She intends to broadcast the crops on the king-sized Tron. So Joe's punishment would be pardoned. In between, Joe is still attempting to save his life from the death truck. Rita arrives there on time and offs a cameraman to go with Frito and film the growing crops. She then goes to the checking room and takes control over the control board. Frito at last gets to the field and films the crops. The clip is broadcasted on the big screen. Seeing this, President Camacho saves Joe from being killed and acquits his punishment, causing the crowd to burst in cheers. Presently everybody is at a frat party in the White House. Rita uncovers that she would rather not get back, because she loves the future better. Joe is astonished, however he doesn't compel her to accompany him. The two say their last farewell, yet before Joe leaves, the president calls him in front of an audience, and to announce him the new vice president. Everybody takes a look at Joe with confident eyes, causing him to agree to stand 2,505. Then one person calls the time machine an idiotic ride. In any case, Frito takes a confused Joe to the machine, and it is at last uncovered that the time machine is only a children's ride. The scene slices to a couple of months later, when Joe is chosen as the President of the United States, and Rita turns into his better half and the First Lady. Under his authority, another period unfolded. Once more the people trust that humans can become smart. He even has 3 children with Rita who are said to be the smartest children on the planet. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.